it just seems to be getting worse. Zoom in on that. Give him an eyeful. We are a nation at war with a commander-in-chief who is literally rotting from the neck up. Again, it's one of those situations where if you don't find a little bit of humor in the situation, then you are just doomed to sorrow and misery and possibly clinical depression. Donald Trump held a Medal of Honor ceremony yesterday, which is just a disgusting, disrespectful action from a 5-time draft-dodging coward who can't stop talking about giving himself the Medal of Honor, which we'll get to. But first, before we do, I want to talk about Donald Trump's mental and physical state. Donald Trump, I mean, we've seen the makeup on both of his hands on any given day, the hastily applied foundation for a lady's face, I guess, in the wrong color on his hand in a slapstick comedy-like effort to cover his illness. It's a metaphor. We're drowning in the metaphor that Donald Trump has provided for us. And now, yesterday, it seems to be getting worse. I mean, there are pictures of him from Friday where you could see it's a little red. This is from Friday. Doing his, jerking as many dicks as he can get his hands on dance here. And then yesterday, at the ceremony and different events at the White House, it just seems to be getting worse and gross. Zoom in on that, Chris. Really give him an eyeful of the president's malady. So look, Donald Trump is unwell. Physically, he is unwell. Mentally, clearly we've known this for a long time. He is unwell. Yesterday, he hosted at the White House a ceremony intended to honor military members who have given the greatest sacrifice, often, many of them posthumously giving this award. But to get the Medal of Honor, I'm not going to go through the whole entire criteria again that I have in the past. You have to do something extraordinary. It's not just, oh yeah, you served and you didn't get in trouble for 4 years. Here's your good conduct medal. It's something far, far beyond that. You get a check for the rest of your life for being a Medal of Honor recipient. The highest ranking individual in the entire military must salute, not you, the recipient, but the medal. That's how much honor there is in the military. I don't know if you know that. The highest ranking military official salutes the lowest ranked if they have the Medal of Honor. Because you're honoring that medal because it represents such sacrifice, such valor, such honor, such respect. I mean, it just commands that respect. Anyway, Donald Trump, in the ceremony, after acknowledging what the ceremony is, it's announced, the chaplain gives this long, meandering address or prayer. Donald Trump gets up there and again, he can't shut his addled, demented mouth about desperately wanting the Medal of Honor and wants to award it to himself, despite the fact that he showed no bravery, never served. In fact, when he got the call to serve, he dodged. He evaded the draft because of his sore feet. Watch this very brief moment where Donald Trump, in the presence of current Medal of Honor recipients and getting ready to be Medal of Honor recipients, explaining how he himself wants to award himself the medal that he is not qualified for a host of different reasons.
You all look good. We all look good. We remember the ceremonies. Oh, great. It's a great honor. There's no greater. I tried for myself. I've tried numerous times to get one by myself. I keep getting shut down. They say, you can't do it, sir. Bad protocol. Very bad. I would say the worst. But I'm only kidding. You don't have to say I'm only kidding. Otherwise, the press will come out with it, which they actually did once. Donald Trump wants a Congressional Medal of Honor, but he's been shut down.
Those are the words of an unwell man. We have visibly witnessed, audibly witnessed Donald Trump's decline cognitively. He seems like every other month he's getting the MOCA test, the Montreal Cognitive Assessment Test, where he has to choose between the giraffe and the lion and the duck, and then do a dot-to-dot test. It's a test that identifies diminished cognition. It's not an IQ test. Donald Trump's constantly getting these tests. So we've seen the cognitive decline. It's been administered to us into our eyes and ears. And now we're witnessing the actual rotting from the neck up. He's falling apart. He's literally rotting away. And the Republican Party says nothing. The Republican Party says nothing about the physical, outwardly symptoms of illness and the inward symptoms of illness, because this guy is now reverting back to what he knows best, which I guess is construction. And he went on this jag after, please, thank you for being here to honor these brave warriors. Hey, did you notice the drapes? Well, we got the curtains. This is going to be my ballroom. That's what I do best, ballrooms. And he just transforms into ballroom guy right before everyone's eyes. And you don't hear any alarm bells. You don't hear anybody going up, Mr. President, are you okay? Doesn't seem like you're okay. Watch this.
But please join me in thanking every American service member who bravely is standing in harm's way. They really are incredible, and I just want to thank you. We have a lot of them right here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We have a lot of great service members here with us, too, in this beautiful building. Isn't it beautiful? We're adding on to the building a little bit. We're improving the building. See that nice drape? When that comes down right now, you see a very, very deep hole. But in about a year and a half from now, you're going to see a very, very beautiful building. And there's your entrance to it right there. In fact, it looks so nice, I think I'll save money on the doors, because it can't get more beautiful than that. I picked those drapes in my first term. I always like gold, but I think we can save a lot of money. I just saved curtains. But, and it'll be spectacular. It'll be the most beautiful ballroom. I believe it's because I built many a ballroom. I believe it's going to be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world. And when you hear all that hammering out there, you know why the First Lady is not thrilled exactly. She said, will the pile drivers ever stop? You know, they go from 6 in the morning till 11:30 in the evening. Can you imagine? Here? You know what? To me, that's a beautiful sound. She doesn't like it. I love it. You know what? To me, other than here, because we're donating it, not a penny to the taxpayer. It'll be under budget, ahead of schedule. It'll be $400 million or less. Most people say $400 million or more. No, it'll be less. But when I hear that sound, that beautiful sound behind me, it means money, so I like it. But my wife isn't thrilled. She said, this is getting crazy. I said, don't worry about it. We'll be all finished up in a few months. But now, for the reason that we're gathered this morning to recognize the unsurpassed courage of 3 really incredible American heroes, 1 living and 2 no longer with us.
He's not okay. And unfortunately, given our situation, that means we're not okay. We are at war. And the ballroom drapes guy, the guy who wants to award himself the Medal of Honor for being valiant and brave in combat, is our president. We have a Secretary of Defense who will not say no to Donald Trump, who will not offer sage advice, reasonable advice. He's not a counselor to the president. He's someone who just does the bidding of our fascist, credibly accused rapist of children president of the United States. That's the situation we find ourselves in. And until after the midterms, when we hopefully flip the House and the Senate, and hopefully in grand fashion, we are just stuck in this situation, this holding pattern. Until some Democrat steps up and actually wants to be a leader in this moment. Unfortunately, we're bereft of that in the party. We've got Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries complicit, if there ever was any politician, to Donald Trump. Bending the knee is complicity. Not firing off emails like you're Susan Collins about how concerned you are doesn't get it done. And unfortunately, those of us out of power, we're going to suffer. Anyway, what do you think? What do you think? I welcome you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I appreciate you very much. I'm almost out of the temporary studio. In fact, today I actually hit record, started recording, and the drills began. So I thought I had beat them down to the studio and was able to start work before they started, and no. So I'm back in here probably for a few days in my the podcast studio. Anyway, Donald Trump was ordained by Jesus Christ to bring about Armageddon. I believe he may bring about Armageddon, but it's not in some holy manifestation of God's will. If even a modicum of what is contained in this article is true, we have a serious, serious problem on our hands. I have, for years, rang the alarm bell about white Christian nationalism, about Christian nationalism more generally. But really, it's all part and parcel. Christian nationalism is, by its very nature, white Christian nationalism. And according to this reporting in this Substack from Jonathan Larson, who is not just some rando with a Substack, he has written for publications, he has been a journalist for a long time, he is asserting that the United States military troops are being told explicitly this is a religious war. And moreover, this religious war is intended to bring about the return of Jesus Christ. Any commander who would enter into this kind of religious propaganda is violating their oath to the Constitution and is giving, by virtue of the entire narrative here, illegal orders. We have a separation of church and state in this country, despite what Christian nationalists would have you believe. This is a secular nation. The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution: Congress shall make no law we do not have a state religion. This is the headline. U.S. troops were told Iran war is for Armageddon, return of Jesus. Advocacy group reports commanders giving similar messages at more than 30 installations in every branch of the military. This is not an isolated incident of one particular dipshit commander saying, we're here to bring about the return of Jesus the Christ, which, by the way, again, rapture theology came around in about 1833. If Christ was born right around the turn of the previous millennia, that would be right? Right around year zero. I think it's actually right around year 3 or so. It took 1833 years for someone to look at the Bible and say, actually, I think Jesus is going to come back. It's going to be a blaze of glory. So just to get that out of the way, a little sidetrack there about rapture theology. A combat unit commander told non-commissioned officers at a briefing Monday that the Iran war is part of God's plan and that President Donald Trump was, quote, anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth, according to a complaint by a non-commissioned officer. This is someone in the military, a corporal or a sergeant, someone who is of lower enlisted rank, like I was, sounding the alarm, saying, hey, whoa, this ain't right. What if this person isn't a Christian? What if this person doesn't believe in that particular offshoot of doctrinal belief in Christianity? Most Christians do not believe in the rapture, like Protestant, evangelical, Pentecostal, non-denominational, Assemblies of God types like I grew up. Most people don't believe it because it's a new theology. From Saturday morning through Monday night, more than 110 similar complaints about commanders in every branch of the military had been logged by Military Religious Freedom Foundation, the MRFF. The complaints came from more than 40 different units spread across at least 30 military installations, the MRFF told me Monday night. The MRFF is keeping the complaints anonymous to prevent retribution by the Defense Department. The Pentagon did not immediately respond to my request for comment. Look, we got a problem when the Secretary of Defense himself is hosting church services that I've covered, sermons by his pastor, Douglas Wilson, who believes that we should repeal the 19th Amendment and remove the right to vote from women, who believes, these are his words, women are people that people come out of. That's what he believes the utility and usefulness of women is. And he's preaching at the Pentagon during these bizarre church services. And now that message is being disseminated to the troops as a justification for Donald Trump's illegal and unconstitutional war against Iran. Great. One complainant identified themselves as a non-commissioned officer, an NCO, in a unit currently outside the Iran combat zone, but in ready support status, deployable at any time. The NCO said they were Christian and emailed the MRFF on behalf of 15 troops, including at least 11 Christians, 1 Muslim, and 1 Jew. Full email will be printed below. I'll link to this Substack below. Support this person's work if you have it in you, if you enjoy what they write, if you find value in what they do. Supporting independent media, as you hear all the time, is very important for this very reason. Because you're not hearing this in CNN, you're not hearing this in New York Times. This isn't an article that I'm reading from the Washington Post. This is independent reporting. The NCO wrote to the MRFF that their commander, their boss, but in an elevated station, their commander urged us to tell our troops that this was, quote, all part of God's divine plan. And he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has enshrined evangelical Christianity at the uppermost levels of the U.S. military, airing monthly prayer meetings throughout the Pentagon. Last year, the Pentagon confirmed to me that Hegseth attends a weekly White House Bible study. It's led by a preacher who said God commands America to support Israel. Monday's email from the NCO said that their commander's remarks, quote, destroy morale and unit cohesion and are in violation of the oaths we swore to support the Constitution. Well, at least somebody within the ranks of the military is understanding and taking seriously their oath to the Constitution. Support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I guess since we're here, and I don't want to paraphrase it, we'll just read it. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. That seems pretty succinct, pretty clear. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. This would be an establishment of religion. Muslims don't believe that Jesus is coming back. Jews don't believe Jesus is the Son of God. Well, neither do Muslims. But evangelical Christians do believe those things. That Donald Trump was ordained by Jesus Christ to bring about Armageddon? Half of that, I believe. I believe he may bring about Armageddon, but it's not in some holy manifestation of God's will. Very dangerous. Share this story. If you're still with me, thank you. Share this story with people who desperately need the information, which I believe is everybody. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video.
It's a little bit disheartening and a little bit envious to hear that the BBC has announced that the UK government is actually arranging transport for the British citizens to be able to extract them, whereas here for us as Americans, we feel abandoned.
Donald Trump so hastily attacked Iran Now we're kind of learning that we were cajoled or pressured or bamboozled or hoodwinked, however you want to look at it, by Israel to attack Iran, that we weren't ready. We didn't have hardened our targets. Our bases weren't ready. Our personnel weren't ready. And now there's loss of life at the hands of Iran, but of American troops have died. Donald Trump was so hasty in planning this war, he abandoned U.S. citizens overseas. In this case, a retired United States Major General who is just, I guess, languishing in a hotel room in the UAE and was interviewed by CNN. And he is blaming what's taking place right now on budget cuts at the State Department. We'll get to that. We'll cover those numbers. First, though, here is his quick interview, a piece of it from CNN, talking about he does not feel supported by his government, that they are so busy protecting themselves over at the State Department that they have little time for private citizens who are also in harm's way.
But General, when you see Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, saying that the strikes in Iran aren't going to spiral into something more protracted or bigger, he declares this is not Iraq, this is not endless. Do you have confidence in that?
It seems to me that the purpose and mission have been shifting over the past few days and the past few weeks. Initially, it was to ensure that they could not continue to develop nuclear weapons. Now it's about regime change. And then there's so many things that are being piled on to the mission list. It almost seems like someone Googled it before the brief to throw everything on the kitchen sink into it. So it's a little bit disconcerting. And in fact, one of the small things that does matter to tens of thousands of people here, as well as to their families, it's a little bit disheartening and a little bit envious to hear that the BBC has announced that the UK government is actually arranging transport for the British citizens to be able to extract them, whereas here for us as Americans, we feel abandoned. The State Departments, I've talked to two embassy personnel, two different embassies. They are in survival mode, quite frankly, because as we know, the administration reduced their budgets by almost 1/2 over the past year. So this is a difficult situation for people who are not used to being in a combat situation. And that, of course, is, quite frankly, probably 99% of the travelers that are here.
So this isn't just about, well, nobody's getting out. Other countries, they can't get anybody out either. This is a betrayal of their duties at the State Department. And some of it's not their fault. Some of it, the careerists over there, I'm sure, are very good people. They've been hamstrung. Because the other element that he's talking about budget cuts, is absolutely true. This is from New Jersey PBS. Trump budget cut list revealed. Documents quietly released on Friday detail aim to slash billions more in next budget cycle. This from June of last year. This isn't some new hit piece. This has been a concern and on the radar of people who care and report on such matters for months and months and months. And here we are. Any reasonable person could see when you cut to the degree that they cut into the State Department's budget, you're going to have problems. When you cut into the budget of FEMA, there's going to be problems. When you cut into the budget of Health and Human Services relative to SNAP and a bunch of other programs, you're going to have problems. This is from the article. Under the Trump administration's budget proposal, the Department of State, combined with some other international programs, would receive the largest cut of any cabinet-level agency by dollars and percentage, $49.1 billion, or 83.7%. It's remarkable, right? $50 billion. I guess it doesn't really matter that Donald Trump is suing the Treasury Department and the IRS for $10 billion. For 20% of the money that they cut from the budget of State Department, Donald Trump is getting ready to enrich himself from the Treasury, from we the people. But blah, 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 good stewards of taxpayer dollars and everything, right? Blah, blah, blah. Small government works better, even though we've abandoned retired major generals, people who dedicated their entire lives, adult lives, careers in service to the nation, can't get a ride home. Because Donald Trump was champing at the bit for regime change war. the guy who literally campaigned at every event about how if you vote for Kamala, your kids are going to be sent to war, as he gets into office and then sends your kids to war. I mean, we got to come up with a new word. Here's your task for the day. Comment below. It'll help the algorithm. That's why I'm doing it. But also, we need to come up with something stronger than hypocrite. We need a new term, a new designation for Republican. You know how Germans and the Japanese also have like one single word that communicates a broader, more complex concept? We need that in America for Republican hypocrisy. Man, I'm cooking right now. I'm hot right now. We need this. I'm cooking and hot, just not creative enough to come up with my own. So I'm crowdsourcing. Let's do that. Anyway, yikes. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video. If you're not into commenting, I don't know why you wouldn't. YouTube comment sections, Facebook comment sections, always so great. Very kind. Everybody's very receiving of criticism and differences of opinion. Anyway, you can comment or you can call. Leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work right here that I do in independent media on YouTube, on Facebook, on social media. Isn't it really work there? And the podcast that we do, I Doubt It Podcast. The best way is to go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. For very little, you can help support and produce this work on Patreon. Patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. You can also stay on the YouTube. It's not quite as good from a support standpoint, but it absolutely does help. You can become a channel member on YouTube. Click the join button below, and for $2 a month, help support this work. There's also Dollemore.com where you can buy t-shirts and mugs and stickers and all kinds of other stuff. Actually get something tangible and physical. I don't know why I'm grabbing it like that. But all that goes a long way to support the show.
But fundamentally, so long as we achieve the president's objective to make it clear that Iran can't build the bomb, I think the president will be happy with the outcome.
J.D. Vance. You know, it's so amazing to me to witness this new generation of politicians who lie like it gives them life, like in a real gross, disrespectful. It's one thing to try to bend the truth a little. J.D. Vance in these two clips takes this to a new stratosphere. It's almost admirable, like it's admirable, right? You can almost admire it. We'll dumb it down. I'm a dum-dum. Because in this clip, he's getting ready to say, there's no way that Donald Trump is going to blah, 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 blah about Iran. There's no way he's going to allow our country to get into a multi-year protracted conflict with Iran. There's no way Donald Trump's going to do that. I think you're following me on what the obvious criticism is with that statement. And it's based on everything we know about Donald Trump and everything he said about his opposition to wars like this. Watch this remarkable galaxy brain moment from our vice president, who apparently just gets paid to lie. A hell of a job if you can get it. Here's J.D. Vance on Fox News with Jesse Waters.
What is different about President Trump, and it's frankly different about both Republicans and Democrats of the past, is that he's not going to let his country go to war unless there's a clearly defined objective. He's defined that objective as Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon and has to commit long-term to never trying to rebuild their nuclear capability. It's pretty clear. It's pretty simple. And I think that means that we're not going to get into the problems that we've had with Iraq and Afghanistan.
Wait, what? A few weeks ago, there was no way Donald Trump would enter us into a regime change war. There was no way that was going to happen. But here we are. You're a liar, J.D. Vance. You lie like liars do. Except you endeavor to insult even MAGA. You're even insulting the lowest information group of voters in the country when you say something like this. People who trusted that, I mean, look, I think there's a lot of people who will just, whatever Donald Trump says in the MAGA crowd, among voters, they'll go along with it. Donald Trump said it. Here's the deal leader. I trust in him. I'm gonna supplant any decision making or opinion creation that I may have and just give it to Donald Trump. Whatever he tells me to believe, I believe. He, after all, is the cult leader. There's a lot of that, but there's a lot of people who really rode into this election voting for Donald Trump, believing all of the rhetoric around not starting regime change wars and endless wars in the Middle East. And they heard him during all of the debates during the 2016 campaign, and then all of the debates in 2020, and then all of the debates in 2024. And they believed the things he said. They believed he was only going to deport the worst of the worst and go after criminals. And then now 5-year-old Liam Ramoses are being kidnapped and then court ordered to be released. People believed his lies. I don't know why. For the life of me, believe me, if I knew, I would tell you. And then we have J.D. Vance here saying, trust us. Trust the administration that executes American citizens in the streets and then creates a completely false narrative about who they were and what their motivations were before even an investigation is done. Believe us. Believe that administration. Believe the administration that lies like they breathe oxygen. It got worse. Believe it or not, it got worse. Anytime you get two chuds like this together, J.D. Vance and Jesse fucking Waters, sparks are going to fly. They're just all the wrong kind of sparks. Watch this next moment.
Do you and the president care who runs the country now? Or you just kind of sit back and kind of shape it from the sea and the air?
Well, I guess, Jesse, in a perfect world, yeah, we would love it if somebody came to power in Iran who was willing to work with the United States, who was willing to show some respect to the United States, and again, most importantly, made that long-term commitment that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. But ultimately, Jesse, whatever happens with the regime in one form or another, it's incidental to the president's primary objective here, which is to make sure the Iranian terrorist regime does not build a nuclear bomb. So, there are a lot of things that could happen with the regime. Obviously, the president and I would prefer that you have a friendly regime in Iran, a stable country, a country that's willing to work with the United States as opposed to, bomb our soldiers and try to build a nuclear weapon. But fundamentally, so long as we achieve the president's objective to make it clear that Iran can't build the bomb, I think the president will be happy with the outcome.
J.D. Vance, please, dipshit, explain to me how Iran would drop a nuclear bomb without a nuclear program. Because after all, didn't the nuclear program that they were endeavoring for, that they hadn't even completed, wasn't it obliterated? Where are they going to get this nuke to drop on Americans' home? We should be worried. We saved you. We saved you from hell, from radiation burns and radiation sickness, if not instant death of nuclear annihilation. Except you obliterated it. So what's this war other than just regime change? The shifting narrative is very telling about this administration, that they went into war without a predicate, without a justification. And if they don't even have a justification for going in, they don't have an end game. There is no end state in mind. They're not working toward an ultimate goal through strategy and military operations. There's no coordination with the State Department at a diplomatic level to bring this conflict to an end, because there is no objective here other than distraction and Donald Trump being led around by the nose by Benjamin Netanyahu. We are doing the bidding of the state of genocide. I mean, the state of Israel. Donald Trump is, I guess, he's the Secretary of Defense for Israel. We are outsourcing our military might to them, just like we outsource our dollars to prop up their military as they conduct a genocide on the Palestinian people. Am I getting all this right? As J.D. Vance goes on Fox News with his smug, smarmy, cunty being, just who his entire just aura is just cunty. Ugh. Anyway, too much? Is it too much? I don't think it is. Tell me whether you think it is. You can talk about it in the comments, chastise me there, or you can call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. You guys are great. How are we doing this? How are we getting through this? On a daily basis, I ask myself that. How did we get here? All these questions, no answers. I love and appreciate you. Thank you for joining me today. I do appreciate you. I'm talking to you. You, not broadly, you.
We waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else. Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us. We would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way.
We are going to start this video before I get to the clip of Mike Johnson and before I get to the clip of Marco Rubio saying some of the most batshit crazy things you've heard since this Iran war started, since Trump's Iran war started. I posted the other day, let's stop calling it the Iran war and start calling it Trump's Iran war, because that is what it is. I'm going to get to, at 7 o'clock, I got a video of Tommy Tuberville where he says that exact thing. This is Trump's war, he says proudly. This is Trump's war, the most military man the world has ever known. But we're going to start this video before I get to the Mike Johnson stuff, wasting nearly a minute here. I'm going to play a 30-second clip of Donald Trump admitting that this is war. Because the new narrative is, this isn't war. This isn't war. This is defensive. Donald Trump is ending the war that we've been conducting as a defense with Iran for nearly 50 years. I was unaware of this. Having served in the United States Marine Corps, I didn't know that we had been at war and that I was at risk of deploying to the front in Iran. I had no idea that we had a forward operating area. I had no idea we had boots on the ground and active combat operations going in the nation of Iran the entire time I served in the Marine Corps. I must have missed the memo, as it were. But here's Donald Trump admitting it's a war before we move on to two ghouls denying that it's a war.
The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war.
So it's a war. No way around it. Donald Trump just said it happens in war. War. This is war. People are going to die. That's just what happens. It happens in war. How would he know? Never served. Evaded the draft. Dodged it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-time draft dodger. Gotcha. Here's Mike Johnson, who is absolutely just... he does what I like to call, he practices Republican eroticism, which is just getting down there and just luxuriating in the grundle butter of Donald Trump. Just very gross, these people. And that's not a knock against Mike Johnson for being gay. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that's what they fear most. So I'm going to, poke a little fun at them for it. Here's Mike Johnson saying that this is not war. This is a defensive. This entire operation is defensive by design. But listen clearly and carefully to the language and the words that he strings together when he says it.
Mr. Speaker, is there at any point you think Congress will need to give congressional authorization?
So, you know my background. I'm a constitutional law attorney. I'm a jealous guardian of Article 1 in the legislative branch. My understanding of the law, and has always been, and this is the tradition and the way the law has been used and observed over many decades, the president was acting well within his authority. What I just told you is the scope of what happened here and the situational awareness that they had at the time to make this decision. It's not a declaration of war. It's not something that the president was required, because it's defensive in nature and in design and in necessity, to come to Congress and get a vote first. And if they had briefed a larger group than the Gang of Eight, there's a real threat that very sensitive intelligence that we had, might have been leaked or something. So this is why the Commander-in-Chief of our armed forces has the latitude that any commander-in-chief, any president always has, because they have a set of information that is sensitive, timely, and urgent, and they have to be able to act upon it. they did that. Now, there, as you know, under our system, there are timetables that are involved here, but I think the idea that we would move a War Powers Act vote right now, I mean, it will be forced to the floor, but the idea that we would take the ability of our Commander-in-Chief, the President, take his authority away right now to finish this job is a frightening prospect to me. It's dangerous, and I am certainly hopeful, and I believe we do have the votes to put it down. That's going to be a good thing for the country and our security and stability.
The jealous guardian of the legislative branch, this constitutional, heavy air quotes, scholar, Mike Johnson, wants you to believe that the idea of bringing the question of constitutionality or even speaking about whether Donald Trump has limitations on his power relative to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the Constitution, which gives Congress the sole exclusive authority to declare war, that's dangerous right now. Oh, no, you can't do that. But how is that? Oh, how beautiful is that? It's not a declaration of war. It's not required because it's defensive in design. That's the new narrative. It's defensive in design. The dead children at the girls' school, the nearly 200 dead people who were at the girls' school in Iran who are now not alive, don't worry, it wasn't war. It was defensive. We were acting defensively because of all the... I know we've been hearing air raid sirens here in Washington, D.C. I've had to run to find shelter because of all of the bombs raining down on the United States from Iran. Yeah, right. So anyway, here's Marco Rubio apparently briefing Congress, or Republicans in Congress at least. And he's jumping on this narrative. This is the new narrative from the Trump administration, that even though their commander-in-chief says it's war, even though their Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, even though he says it's war, it's not war. This is defensive. Listen. Maybe I should have started with Marco Rubio, because you've heard the term word salad. This is a word salad made up of other word salads. That's what we got here with Marco Rubio. It is something to behold. Watch this.
Does Congress have to weigh in? Does Congress have to weigh in? Is the president declaring war, and does Congress have to weigh in? And was there an imminent threat? Did you tell lawmakers that there was an imminent threat?
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way to prevent them from inflicting higher damage. Had we not done so, there would have been hearings on Capitol Hill about how we knew that this was going to happen, and we didn't act preemptively to prevent more casualties and more loss of life.
You heard him. Oh, Marco's, he's got it all down. We went on the offensive in a defensive way. It could be said, this could be said of any nation on earth, that they were going to attack us. If they were attacked by somebody else, if Israel attacked them, then they were going to attack us, so we had to attack them. All of this future. Apparently he's Minority Report. He's John Anderton or whatever that Tom Cruise character was in the movie. He's seeing the future. He knows what Iran would do if attacked by another nation. If Israel attacks Iran, they're going to attack us. The exact same thing could be said of any nation on the planet. If Israel attacked Canada, Canada would then in turn attack us. If Israel attacked Norway, we must bomb Norway because Israel could attack them at any time, and then they're going to attack us. Look, this is my solemn urging of this administration. We must drop bombs on the nation of France because they could be attacked by some other rogue country, and then they'll attack us. That's the justification. And Marco fucking Rubio wants you to buy that this is defensive, because actually we're at war. They were going to attack us. We just know it. They think you're stupid. I mean, they know a lot of the base is stupid, but they believe you are stupid too. And they believe they'll be able to convince you of this prior to the midterms before you get fed the fuck up and go out there and vote and send them packing. Send them scurrying like the rats that they are for shelter before they are impeached, convicted, and removed en masse for their crimes against the Constitution, against the American people, but also against humanity itself. The tribunals cannot begin soon enough, in my estimation. What do you think? I invite you to this heated at times conversation. I'm in a room alone having a fiery conversation with myself. I know you're on the other side, down the barrel of that lens somewhere, though. Anyway, what do you think? You can comment below.
It's about time a president of the United States stood up and took care of this nuisance that's been around for 47 years.
Nuisance is quite a word for it, considering all the other things we've just attributed to that.
You know how Donald Trump talks about central casting all the time? It was straight out of central casting, this guy. Well, Markwayne Mullin is straight out of central casting, but if you're casting for the role of a dipshit. It's like, look, we want a guy with a heavy Southern drawl who speaks nonsensically all the time, who loves to get his mouth and tongue and lips all over Donald Trump's genitals. That's what we want. Find us, and we want to cast this role. And normally anybody would be like, well, that seems impossible to cast. No one could play the part of a lifetime. No one could do that. And then they found Markwayne Mullin. Markwayne Mullin wants you to believe he's a self-made man, yet he inherited his daddy's plumbing business. He colors himself some kind of a tough guy, some kind of a rough and tumble character, yet he cowered like a little weakling during the insurrection on the House floor. He's just it's everything that you want with a Republican. Not only is he a dipshit, he's also the worst spokesman for Donald Trump that we have known. And it's a long line of people who really tried to get out there and be a great surrogate for the president. Markwayne Mullin is making a media splash right now. He's just out there on every news show. Yesterday he was on Fox News and CNN and News Nation. It was wild. And one, he can't get it right. He keeps calling it Iraq. He's calling Pete Hegseth multiple times, even after correcting himself, calling Pete Hegseth President Hegseth. It is just like, who's booking this guy? I mean, I know it's just juicy. It's red meat for people who watch politics on the news all the time. But why is the administration not saying, hey, dude, why don't you sit this one out, champ? Why don't you ride the pine for a little bit? Sit on the bench, brother, because you're not helping the cause. Let's start with this. Markwayne Mullin, a man who never served a moment in uniform, a non-veteran, a non-military member, zero military experience, explaining on Fox News what the smell of war is like.
The loss of life, when the president first came out and he talked to the American people, he was very resolved and direct on what we could expect. War is ugly. It smells bad, and if anybody's ever been there and been able to smell the war that's happened around you and taste it and feel it in your nostrils and hear it, it's something that you'll never forget, and it's ugly. And fortunately, you have President Hegseth, or I say President Hegseth, Secretary Hegseth, that has got a great relationship with President Trump, and President Hegseth's been there. He's done that. You have Chairman Kane. Yeah. War is ugly, says a man who's never seen war, never even been inside of a military uniform. It smells bad, he says. If anybody has ever been there and been able to smell the war that's happening around you and taste it and feel it in your nostrils. Tell us, what's it like? What's it like to serve your country in the military? Markwayne Mullin. No, tell me, please. Elucidate me, enlighten me with your deep, abiding understanding of what it's like to serve in uniform.
selflessly, volunteer. And then tell me more about President Hegseth. Come on, man. Come on. This is the guy? That continued. We're going to pick the clip up pretty much right there where it left off about how bad war is and how bad it smells. And President Hegseth, he catches himself and then continues to call him President Hegseth.
And it's ugly. And fortunately, you have President Hegseth, or I say President Hegseth, Secretary Hegseth, that has got a great relationship with President Trump. And President Hegseth's been there. He's done that. You have, after troops are committed, he has the ability to come back. If it doesn't fall underneath the AUMFF, he has the ability to come back and declare war and ask for Congress to declare war on Iraq. Right now,
I mean, it's to call it nonsensical just doesn't get it done. This is, I mean, I'm sure Pete Hegseth is just like standing at attention in more ways than one. Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. I would love to be President Hegseth. Never going to happen, brother. Never going to happen. You don't got it. You don't got whatever magic sauce MAGA loves to gobble down. You don't got it. So it wasn't just him repeatedly calling Pete Hegseth the President of the United States. It wasn't just him talking about his deep, abiding knowledge and understanding and experience in combat and what war's like. He also took to CNN, where he just got ravaged by just basic questions. That's what's so beautiful about this. You don't even have to be someone who did a whole bunch of prep and research to formulate your gotcha questions. You just let this moron run his suck, and then you pick him apart. This is him continuing, and he did it all day, continuing to slip up and calling Iran Iraq, because we are repeating the same mistakes of the past, and not mistakes from 100 years ago. Just 20 years ago. We all remember the Iraq War. We all remember how bad it was. We all remember that we were so many people were so ginned up. I was one of them. After 9/11, I lived here in this city on 9/11, or in the Washington, D.C. area. I remember being like, oh yeah, we gotta do something. But now we don't have that. We don't have a 9/11 to unify everybody to an illegal war. And by everybody, I mean the vast majority of the nation was on board. And now we know that was a mistake. But here we have dipshit Markwayne Mullin, who continues to make the same mistake and can't even get the word Iraq out of his brain and off of his tongue when talking about Trump's war in Iran.
Question when it comes to the AUMF, which why it was passed for terrorist organizations that was trying to harm us. There's no question that Iran clearly fits in that picture, because we know, you and I, it's not even debatable, we know that Iran's been the #1 sponsor of war of terror around the world for decades now.
But sir, doesn't that slip that you made underscore exactly why the American people are telling us in our poll that they don't want this? I mean, the memory of Iraq is still very fresh in a lot of Americans' minds.
Well, this isn't Iraq. We made that very clear. Pete Hegseth, Secretary Hegseth, made that very clear. This isn't the same approach. You keep in mind, we took out the leader within an hour. There was no direction between where we were going with Iraq and where we're going with Iran. When we have clear, precise targets that we're hitting, we're taking out their ability to launch missiles at us and our assets around the region. We're clearly not going to allow them ever to have a nuclear weapon. And that is very clear. We want to make sure that we're protecting all of our assets home and abroad, and we wanted to eliminate the threat.
What do you mean, well, this isn't Iraq? Secretary Hegseth said this isn't Iraq. You just called it Iraq. Do you not understand? You don't get it? Markwayne? And then this last clip, maybe I should have started with this, but I tried to go a little bit more chronologically here. In this clip, it really gets into the mind of who they think we're dealing with and how they do view the situation on the ground, where he's talking about the death of Americans. We have dead soldiers sent to their deaths in an illegal, unconstitutional war. And the justification for their death, the reasonable nature with which we should understand the context of their death, is that they died for the nuisance that Iran was, not the grave national security threat, not a threat to your life and the well-being of your families. No. Yeah, it's because of the nuisance they were.
How many Americans are you willing to see lose their lives in this fight?
Listen,
to make
one
this
is
worth
too,
it?
one is
We've already
too many.
seen
The
6,
problem
right?
is that, one is too many. The problem is we've already lost thousands. You can go back and have a timeline in which I know you know the timeline of how many times they've attacked us, going back all the way to 1979 when they took the students hostage, to the time that they've attacked our interests at sea and on land over the last 47 years. So we already lost Americans over this murderous regime. The question is how many more were we willing to lose before we finally done something? The fact is we're stopping it. President Trump has stopped it. He stopped future killings that this murderous regime and this underneath the Ayatollah can do to our people home and abroad. So it's about time a president of the United States stood up and took care of this nuisance that's been around for 47 years.
Nuisance is quite a word for it, considering all the other things we've just attributed to them. But okay, Senator Markwayne Mullin, I always appreciate you coming and being willing to answer questions. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Casey.
Good to know we're starting wars over nuisances. I'd love to tell my neighbors when they stay up late and have a party that they're at risk of me declaring war and bringing over my firearms because of the nuisance. Do you hear yourself, Markwayne? Do you think you sound like a smart guy? I was going to say I hate to be the one to break it to you, but I revel being the one to break it to you. You, sir, are a fucking moron. Why does Markwayne Mullin not hang out, go to the same restaurants or bars that I do in the city? I can't get a little face-to-face time with the Mark Mullin. He could tell me more. Markwayne. I always forget the Markwayne. What a name. What a guy. What a brain. Anyway, what do you think? This is a leader in one of the two effective political parties in our country. United States Senator. Yeah, let that sink in.
You know, this is not your Democrat war. This is President Trump's war, and he's not going in to be politically correct.
When a war gets launched like this one, with Donald Trump's war in Iran, so hastily done, no justification, no legal justification, no planning, no going to Congress and asking for authority to declare war or asking Congress to declare war. None of that. Anytime it rolls so choppily and so hastily like this, you're going to have competing narratives. You're going to have not one unified message as a nation, as an administration, or even as a military. You're just not. And you've got some people who are saying this is defensive. This is a defensive thing. Like Marco Rubio and Mike Johnson. You've got some people who are saying this isn't a war. This isn't even a war. This is just blah, blah, blah. Then you got Tommy Tuberville. Tommy Tuberville, the most military man. I don't know if you've been watching my content for any time at all, but a couple of years ago, I really did a lot of reporting on, a lot of talking about, commentary on Tommy Tuberville, who claims, although never served a single moment in the United States military uniform, any of them, not even the Coast Guard. I mean, this guy's no service, but his papa did. My daddy was a war hero. The guy that makes me a war. Nobody's more military than me, he used to say all the time. He even got chastised by Mark Kelly for saying it. The most military man. Just not military enough to actually be in the military. Well, his narrative is not only that, yes, this is Trump's war. We'll get to that. That's the final clip where he says it with his mouth. This is not the Democrat war. This is Trump's war. Proudly proclaiming it like that's a winning message to the American people. Well, dipshit Tommy Tuberville, who doesn't even live in Alabama, although he's an Alabama senator, his primary residence is in Florida. I've done a lot of talking about Tommy Tuberville. In this clip, he's going to convince you that, no, this is a war. This is Trump's war. And in fact, this is Trump's Iran war because we, after all, you should all know this, we've been at war with Iran for 47 years.
In both parties. How is this mission going so far, sir?
Well, on the Democrat side, they've lost their mind. And you said it earlier. They can't believe it. They can't believe we actually have a president that does what he says. And 47 years we fought against Iran, the mullahs and all their proxies. And 47 years Iran lost. 47 years ago, Iran lost their country to a bunch of radicals. So we're trying to help everybody out. President Trump's doing the right thing. He said the big wave hadn't come yet, so I would suggest that the people of Iran buckle their seatbelts because here we come. It's just unfortunate, you know, after we took out the leaders, Ed.
Wait, what? For nearly 50 years, we've been at war with Iran? I said this earlier, that, look, I was in the Marine Corps in the 90s, and I just don't remember a war with Iran. You would think that would be something that wouldn't just fall out of my head, that I would retain that memory somehow, right? That I was at risk of being deployed to the war, to the front lines in Iran. Who knew? Who knew? Apparently it was Tommy Tuberville. Tommy Tuberville's one of these guys who wants to act tough and cosplay like he's a military expert or has any understanding of what it's like to actually be in a forward operating area, what it's actually like just to sleep in the barracks and be in the military. He has no idea any of this. You don't learn that through osmosis or through your genetic line because your dad was in the military, dipshit. But he also deals with these matters with as much disrespect as you would expect from any Republican. Here he is talking about the loss of life, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. Oh, yeah, there's going to be more death. Our heroes, we're putting them at risk. Trump's illegal war with no justification, no predication whatsoever. Your sons and daughters are going to die, and it's going to get worse.
Buttons to the missiles and started hitting their neighbors. Yeah. And the neighbors are all mad now. So it's just unfortunate. You know, we lost what you said earlier. Six people now. And my understanding, they were in Kuwait in one of their neighbors and they got hit. So it's just unfortunate that happened. But this is war. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But I'm telling you, who's going to win this war? The United States of America is going to win this war.
Now, look, an audience, a Newsmax audience might gobble this up, or an OAN audience, or a Fox News audience. They're going to be prone to this. They're going to be eager to be the piggy in the trough, just bury their head in there. But normal Americans, regular people who are seeing the writing on the wall and the lay of the land here, pick your metaphor, they're not buying this shit. Especially when he starts talking like this, where he's saying that this is the fault of the Democrats up here, and then blames the Gulf Wars, the many Gulf Wars, on Democrats. Tell me, I mean, does he suffer from the same memory condition that Donald Trump does? Because you clearly, I was going to say, tell me you have no understanding of history without actually telling me you have no understanding of history. That's what we're witnessing here. The Gulf War #1, George H.W. Bush. I haven't even played the clip here, and I'm already refuting it. We'll go through the list. Watch this moron. I guess words are just coming to him. It's free association now with the Republicans.
Hours after he spoke, the military added 2 more deaths. As we said, it's up to 6 now. How do you balance the loss of life and having to go to these Gold Star families with the mission that the president says is noble, sir?
Well, the president's been saying all along that, you know, when we do get into a fight with Iran, it's going to be a lot longer than a 1 or 2 day fight. Our military people know what they're getting into. They're well trained, they're well equipped. Unfortunately, this just happens. And again, we lost 3 airplanes yesterday. Luckily, we didn't lose any lives. But again, this has just started. We're in 60 hours of this war, and we're going to go many, many more days. And again, it's just something that the Democrats up here, they could care less. They've been pushing buttons, and and running these wars like Vietnam and in my lifetime, and of course all the Gulf wars, but we didn't try to win those wars. And President Trump is going to start this war, and he's going to finish it. And the American people deserve that, and the people of Iran deserve that.
They've been pushing buttons, running these wars like Vietnam, and of course all the Gulf wars. Vietnam was a protracted military conflict that should be bringing up all kinds of lessons for politicians right now, and then they still invoke it as though they have any understanding whatsoever. Again, didn't serve, so maybe he just doesn't have an understanding of it. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's Dunning-Kruger in full effect, that he believes he has a full, just a kung fu grip on an understanding of military matters when he has no understanding. But Vietnam was a protracted conflict that spanned many administrations, Republican and Democrat. Both Gulf Wars were started by not only Republicans, but by Bushes. Again, I will repeat, the first Gulf War in 1991 was George H.W. Bush. And the second one, where we ended up deposing Saddam Hussein after 9/11, they had nothing to do with 9/11. We killed 1 million people. George W. Bush, he started that one. How are Democrats running the Gulf Wars? United States Senator wants to be governor of Alabama. I mean, look, he'd be better off there than impacting national policy. I mean, it'd be better for the utilitarian perspective. As a trolley problem, I'd rather have him there than on the national stage. But if you really want the piece de resistance, not a French guy, don't speak French, I think that's how to do it. If you really want the chef's kiss, here it is. This is Tommy Tuberville. Save this clip. Get ready to send this to somebody who needs it. This is Tommy Tuberville just flatly saying, admitting openly, this is not the Democrats' war. This is Donald Trump's war.
President Trump isn't ruling out sending ground troops into Iran. What is your reaction to that?
Yeah, you can't blame him. This is not your Democrat war. This is President Trump's war. And he's not going in to be politically correct. He's going in to protect, first of all, Americans first, and then our allies and the people around the world. Iran has been the city of terrorism as long as I can remember.
I forgot about the politically correct line. Well, you heard it here. This is Donald Trump's war. This is not the Democrats' war. Bookmark this clip. Bookmark this clip. But also, what wars have we fought? What death at long range have we delivered in a politically correct way? This is the same idiot narrative that they want to spin that Donald Trump does. It's akin to Donald Trump's thing about how he rebuilt the military. Our military, which is for half a century, longer than half a century, 80 years, has been the greatest, strongest, most well-funded lethal force on the planet that dwarfs the defense spending of other nations to orders of magnitude. Right now, they want to spend 1.5 trillion with a T. $1,500 billion they want to spend next year on our military. We spend more, even when it's just at $1 trillion, we spend more than the next 9 nations combined. So how are we being politically correct? It's just he's like one of those chatty Cathy dolls. You pull the fucking string and I need to get myself a Tommy Tuberville doll or just a Republican doll. And you pull the string and it just says canned things. We won't be politically correct. Dirk. I think it would sell like gangbusters. I just came up with the idea. Nobody steal the idea. Nobody steal the idea. I need to come up with a name, though. Somebody help me come up with a name. Put it in the comments below. I'm done. It's too much already. It's not even 10 o'clock in the morning. It's 9:45 in the morning right now. It's too early for this shit. Anyway, what do you think? Call me and let me know. Leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me the old-fashioned way. That's the other email address for the podcast, daily@dollemore.com. Look at that, daily@dollemore.com. I got through it. And I know it's 7 o'clock Eastern time for you. It's 9:47 in the morning right now for me. So, little peek behind the curtain, see how the sausage is made. I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be less like Tommy Tuberville and more like somebody who's not Tommy Tuberville. Be genuine. Take care of one another.